Hey, you. You're finally awake.
What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into some most iconic beat 'em up games that were totally made for the Sega Genesis, or Sega Mega Drive wherever you are living in the world. These games were pure magic for any 16-bit gamer, all about throwing punches, smashing heads and dealing with tough guys in the most over-the-top ways possible. So grab your controllers and let's take a trip back to the good old days as we break down these epic titles. As always, if you want to hear more of me, Retro Wars is a weekly podcast where each week me and a friend talk about the video games we used to play back when you were kids, and there's over 150 episodes free wherever you get your podcasts from. So let's look at 7 memorable beat 'em ups that Sega ever unleashed on the world. First up, we've got Golden Axe. This one is an absolute classic. Set in a mythical fantasy world, you get to play as one of 3 heroes: a muscle-bound barbarian, a fierce Amazonian warrior, or a dwarf with a giant axe. Seriously, it is ridiculously oversized for him. The storyline, well, it's as simple as it gets. Death Adder, the evil villain, kidnaps the king and princess, and it's up to you to rescue them and restore peace to the land. But as simple as the plot may sound, it's the fantasy setting that makes Golden Axe such a memorable ride. The gameplay is a classic side-scrolling beat-em-up. You move from left to right, obliterating anything that stands in your way, whether that's sword-wielding skeletons, giant monsters, or creepy-looking knights. What are the coolest features? You can hop on various beasts like a fire-breathing dragon or a giant chicken-lizard combo, which is really weird, and use them as your own personal wrecking balls. As you progress, you can collect magical potions to unleash devastating spells that clear out large groups of enemies with ease. And whilst the levels are linear, there's enough variety in the enemy types and stage design to keep things interesting. Golden Axe at the time was a visual gem. The environments were vibrant, taking you from lush forests and towering castles to fiery lava pits and dark caves. The character animations are smooth, and even though the game is pretty pixelated, it still has an incredible level of charm. The soundtrack is something else, and some of those tunes will stay in your head for long after you finish playing. Even the title theme is iconic, and when I hit it, I instantly know, yep, that's Golden Axe. What makes Golden Axe shine though is its combination of simple but satisfying combat and cooperative play. The magic system, the ability to ride on beasts, and the variety of enemy gives the game that little extra kick. Plus, if you're playing with a buddy, it's twice the fun. And I did that when I was a kid. Me and my brother would play this for hours. And the old school charm is just unmatched. It's a game that's easy to pick up but hard to put down. However, the game does have its drawbacks. The combat, while fun, can get really repetitive, and after a while you may feel you're doing the same thing over and over again. Some of the AI, especially in co-op mode, can also get in the way when the enemies gang up on you. And while the difficulty curve does up a challenge, it's often more of a grind. It's the type of game where you may find yourself wondering if there's a little more variety in level design, the enemy tactics could have been a little more exciting. The AI is so bad that some of the enemies will just sacrifice themselves and walk off the bridge, and okay, fair enough, if you want to do that, that's what you want to do. Next up, let's talk about Comix Zone. Now, this game is weird in the best way possible, and that's what makes it so memorable. You play as Sketch Turner, a comic book artist who somehow gets sucked into his own comic book world, and yes, it's exactly as awesome as it sounds. You've got to fight your way through the pages, battling against unique characters that Sketch drew himself. It's a plot that's totally out there, but that's what makes it unique. The gameplay in Comix Zone takes the classic side-scrolling beat-em-up formula and gives it a fresh twist. Each level is framed like a comic book panel, and you move between these panels which give the game a truly dynamic feel. Your attacks are combo-based, and the enemies are drawn in a highly stylized comic book art style. You can even interact with the environment in creative ways, like smashing through walls or throwing objects at enemy. The difficulty is no joke though, and the controls can feel quite sluggish at times, especially when you're navigating tight spaces or trying to perform complicated combos. Comix Zone looked incredible for the time, with the hand-drawn art bringing each page to life. The levels pop with detail, from the urban streets to the more surreal areas of the comic. Each panel transitions smoothly into the next, and the game's art direction oozes that style. The sound, it's a bit like the game itself, punchy, energetic, and in your face. The music adds to the action-packed vibe, and while it may repeat a bit, it's never dull. One of the coolest aspects of Comix Zone is the artistic presentation. The whole comic book aesthetic is just perfect, and the whole game feels like you're playing through a live-action comic strip. The boss battles are interesting, the world is creative, and the unique ways in which the environment changes as you progress through each page refreshing. Plus, the combat, while a bit slower, rewards skill and strategy. However, this game is not for the faint-hearted. The difficulty is extremely high, and if you're not careful, you'll be sent back to the start of the level with just one hit. The slow combat might feel frustrating to some, and as there's no multiplayer mode, which means no co-op fun with a friend. While the game's unique, it can also feel a bit of a chore to push through the later levels, where enemies get tougher and the gameplay doesn't really change much. Now, time for a true classic, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist. If you grew up with TMNT, then you know this game is an absolute must-play. Taking heavy inspiration from Turtles in Time, this game lets you control all 4 of the Ninja Turtles as they fight the way to stop the evil Shredder, who has stolen the mysterious Hyperstone and plans to rewrite reality. Yeah, it's as wild as it sounds. Gameplay-wise, Hyperstone Heist is a sky-scrolling beat-em-up. You get to choose between Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and basically just jump into it. The combat is fast and fluid, each turtle performing different attacks using their unique weapon. You'll encounter hordes of enemies like foot soldiers, and battle iconic bosses like Bebop and Rocksteady. And you get to team up with a friend, which is honestly the best way to play this game. Graphically, Hyperstone Heist is a real treat. It perfectly captures the look and feel of the TMNT cartoon series, from the Turtles' characters' models to the vibrant detail stages. The environments are varied, with the Turtles travelling through New York, outer space, and even the sewers. The soundtrack is great, with full of high-energy music that perfectly complements the action. It's that classic TMNT vibe that makes you want to say "Cowabunga" every time you play. The best part of our Hyperstone Heist is just the fact it's a Turtles game, and you can't really go wrong. Plus, the co-op gameplay is a blast, and teaming up with a friend to take down the baddies never gets old. The bosses are challenging, and the TMNT lore is faithfully represented, making it a perfect pick for fans of the series. On the downside, it just doesn't have that same feel as Turtles in Time. The levels, while fun, can be a bit repetitive, and there's not enough variety in enemies and stage designs to make it stand out in the same way. Plus, difficulty can feel a bit uneven, with some stages being way harder than others. But as a TMNT fan, this game still holds up. Next up, we've got Altered Beast. If you like your beat-em-ups to get totally bizarre, this game is for you. You play as a resurrected Centurion who's been brought back to life by Zeus to rescue his daughter from the evil Neph. That's a terrible name. Twist, you can transform into powerful beasts, and each transformation makes you more powerful than the last. It's a beat 'em up with a wild mythology twist. Gameplay wise, Altered Beast is a classic sky-scroller, but the key to the game's fun is the beast transformations. Each time you collect enough power-ups, you morph into the more powerful beast, from a werewolf to a dragon man and beyond. The levels are straightforward, but the real fun comes from unleashing your new beastie abilities to smash your enemies. The combat can feel slow, but each new form brings a different set of moves to keep things fresh. Altered Beast has a strange, surreal vibe to it. The environments are filled with grotesque monsters, dark forests and creepy temples, which give the game a nightmarish, otherworldly feel. The character designs are exaggerated and over the top, especially when you transform into a beast. And the soundtrack fits the mood with a dramatic, almost operatic style that adds to the epic, larger-than-life atmosphere. There's nothing more satisfying than going from a puny human to a towering beast that rips through your enemies. The mythological themes are unique for a beat-em-up, and the sheer power you feel as you progress is exhilarating. However, the game can get repetitive. The levels don't change too much, and the combat doesn't evolve a lot, just pounding enemies. The difficulty is also pretty high, which can be frustrating, especially if you use a transformation and have to start over with your basic form. The controls can feel sluggish, and while the transformations are cool, they don't always make up for the overall simplicity of the gameplay, and essentially the game can be finished in about 12 minutes, which isn't that long at all. Let's swing into Spider-Man and Venom Separation Anxiety. This game brings together 2 iconic characters, Spider-Man and Venom, who must team up to stop the evil Carnage and his symbiote army. Based on the comics, the game lets you either play as Spider-Man or Venom, each with their own powers and unique abilities. It's a great formula for what happens when you combine a legendary superhero duo with a classic beat-em-up formula, and I played this a lot with my brother as we used to rent it all the time. The gameplay here is simple but satisfying. You fight your way through waves of enemies, using combos, web attacks, and of course Venom's sheer strength. The co-op mode is where the game really shines, as you can team up with a friend and take on all the bad guys together. Along the way, you'll face off a lot against the symbiotes, and they're quite difficult to fight. The graphics capture the comic book feel with bright and bold colours that brings the Marvel Universe to life. The character designs are pretty faithful to comic books, with Spider-Man and Venom looking exactly like they do in the pages of the comics. The environments are varied, with stages that are set in both New York City and underground layers. The music can be quite energetic and heroic, fitting for a Spider game, but they can be quite competitive. But what makes Separation Anxiety stand out is the ability to bring 2 of Marvel's popular characters together. The combat is satisfying, and the combo system is pretty fun to experiment with. Plus, the co-op is perfect for anyone who wants to team up with a friend to take some symbiotes down. The variety of villains and bosses gives the game, plus plenty of depth. It's not too bad, but it is cool fighting all the different symbiotes. Unfortunately, that game can feel a bit repetitive after a while. Most of the gameplay is just fighting waves of enemies, and it can feel not that much variety in action. The difficulty could have been frustrating, especially when the game throws a ton of you at once. It's a game that could have benefited for a little bit more depth in its mechanics, and that's definitely towards the end, and especially the Carnage fight, which is just broken hard. Now let's talk about Crude Dudes, another game me and my brother used to rent all the time. This game is pure chaos in the best way possible. You play as two beefed up heroes, Nick and Curtis, who are out to save New York City after a nuclear disaster turned it into a wasteland over 20 years ago. The game is all about breaking things, punching bad guys, and causing mayhem with absolutely no filter. If you love your beat 'em ups to the absurd side, this is for you. Because the formula is pretty simplistic, although you can just grab anything. A trash can, a barrel, and just smash it through things. A pipe, it doesn't matter. A telephone pole, it doesn't matter. Can you pick it up? Yep, you'll be able to throw it. The enemies are wacky here too, everything from mutant animals to massive bosses that feel straight out of the Groundhouse movie. And guess what? You can throw them as well. God, if you get a chance to throw an enemy, it's just so much fun. Graphically, Crude Dudes looks like a post-apocalyptic fever dream. The environments are filled with rubble, destroyed machines, and dystopian visuals. And the characters are exaggerated to the extreme, making everything feel cartoonish but in a good way. The sound is loud and obnoxious, perfect for the kind of game that doesn't take itself too seriously. And the energetic soundtrack gets your blood pumping as you throw everything on the screen. Honestly, it's so much fun just to throw everything. What makes this game fun is the absolute absurdity of all. The level designs are packed with destructible objects, and the weapons are just downright satisfying. And the two-player co-op mode is especially fun, as you and your friend can team up to destroy everything in your path, and you can even throw each other. On the downside, Crude Dudes can feel quite repetitive. The gameplay doesn't evolve too much either, and once you picked it up in a few environmental objects and weapons, it can start to feel like you're just doing the same thing over again. The controls can be clunky, especially when you're trying to pick up certain items, but it's still a fun and mindless experience for those who just like their beat-ups messy and chaotic. And finally, let's wrap up things with Captain America and the Avengers. If you're a Marvel fan, this game's a treat. You can play as Captain America, Iron Man, Vision, or Hawkeye as you battle through hordes of enemies to stop the evil Red Skull from taking over the world. It's a classic superhero fun. If you ever wanted to play as the Avengers, this game lets you live your dreams. Gameplay is traditional beat 'em up, with each hero having their own unique abilities, and Hawkeye still just using arrows. God bless, he tries. The levels are packed with enemies, and you'll face off against famous Marvel villains like Red Skull, Ultron, and Kang. The gameplay gets more fun when you team up with a friend, making the co-op experience a blast. Graphically, Captain America and the Avengers does a great job of capturing the look of the Marvel comic books. The environments are bright and detailed, with each hero looking like they just jumped off the comic pages. The music is energetic and the sound effects are spot on, making you feel like you're right in the middle of a Marvel adventure. Everything about this game screams classic comic book action. The different playable characters add variety, and the co-op mode is a lot of fun. If you're a fan of Marvel or superhero beat-em-ups in general, this one's a great way to dive into the action. However, as always, the game's progression can feel a bit repetitive, and some of the levels drag on too long. The difficulty is also inconsistent, with certain parts feeling way harder than others. Still, if you love Marvel and the charm of the characters and the fun co-op gameplay, that can easily outweigh the flaws. And there you have it, 7 epic beat-em-up games for the Sega Genesis, from classic fantasy to superhero mayhem. The Genesis had it all when it came to smashing, brawling, and taking down bad guys. But which one of them was your favourite? Or let me know which ones I've missed in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more retro gaming goodness, and I'll see you all in 2 days for another list. My name's been Danny, take care of yourself, bye bye.